All right, today we're going to get into something really fascinating, something that sits at the very core of our experience. We're going to explore this idea of a consciousness that exists even before our typical everyday consciousness kicks in.
So let me just ask you this, straight up. Is there a moment before you know that you are? And look, I don't mean before you were born or even before you wake up in the morning. I'm talking about a moment that's happening right now, just under the surface.
The source material we're digging into today puts it beautifully. It calls it the moment when experience is happening, but no one has yet arrived to claim it. It's this flicker of pure experience that we've all had, but it gets instantly wiped away the second that our sense of I shows up to take credit.
Okay, so let's start here with this first idea, the moment before I. Now, this isn't about being unconscious, not at all. It's actually the opposite. It's about this raw, unfiltered awareness that's there before the self, before the I comes online and starts narrating everything.
There's a technical term for this. It's called pre-reflective consciousness. Think of it like this. It's the awareness before the mirror is held up. It's the knowing that exists before a knower claims it. It's the absolute ground state of being. And we miss it because our sense of self is always showing up fashionably late to its own life, claiming it made everything happen.
To make this a little less, abstract, let's bring it down to earth with a story from our source. This is about a guy named Solomon, and his whole journey started not in some retreat, but with this totally unexpected glimpse he had on a simple walk in the woods. So Solomon's 33. It's a totally normal Sunday. His mind is doing exactly what our minds do all day long, right? Replaying conversations, planning the week, worrying about stuff. The source calls this the full orchestra of selfhood, which is perfect. And then, out of nowhere, the orchestra just went silent. And this slide really shows you what that shift felt like. Normally, in his ordinary mind, there's a seer who sees the trees, a hearer who hears the creek. But in that moment of silence, the trees were just being seen. The creek was just being heard. Walking was just happening. It was pure experience with no one there to experience it.
And this realization just hit him like a ton of bricks. He suddenly saw that his sense of self, that I he thought he was, it wasn't the whole room of awareness. It was just a piece of furniture in the room. The awareness itself was so much bigger, so much more fundamental than the little I that always thought it was running the show.
Now you'd think this would be the end of the story, right? He found the answer. But no, that one little glimpse kicked off something the source calls the seeker's trap. For the next 15 years, he went on this massive, worldwide search for something he now thought he had lost.
And he pretty quickly found out he wasn't the first person to notice this. So many traditions point right to the same idea. Zen calls it mushin, or no mind. The Sufis call it fana, or annihilation. In Tibetan traditions, it's rigpa, naked awareness. And for years, he chased these ideas, sat in monasteries, read all the texts, trying desperately to get back to that moment in the woods. And this is where the trap just snapped shut on him. See, his self, that part of us that's always trying to fix things and achieve goals, it took this beautiful, simple thing, the before, and it turned it into the ultimate project. The more he tried to get it, the harder he worked, the further away it felt. He was trying to achieve something that, by its very nature, comes before all achievement.
Finally, after years of spinning his wheels, a teacher in India just laid it all bare with this one quote. The looker cannot dissolve the looker. That is the trap. The very eye that was trying to get rid of itself was the problem. It's like your eyeball trying to see itself. It just can't be done. Now, this didn't fix everything, but it did end the search. He just gave up.
So after all that intense seeking, all those years in monasteries, where does the real breakthrough happen? Not on a mountaintop, not in some deep meditation. It came during what our source calls the revelation of toast. The answer wasn't out there somewhere exotic. It was right there, in the most ordinary moment imaginable.
And I love this detail so much because it just grounds everything. It wasn't some mystical, fated day. Nope, the morning of the toast was a Tuesday. It was just life doing its thing.
He was just standing there, spreading butter on toast, and bam, it happened again. The self just stepped aside. The buttering kept going, the knife was still moving, but there was no little manager inside his head narrating it or claiming the action. For about 5 minutes, his life was just unfolding, witnessed by this open, unlocated awareness.
And this led to the key insight, which the source calls the automatic life. It's this realization that, honestly, most of our life just happens on its own. Reaching for your coffee cup, the words that come out of your mouth in a conversation. So often, the action starts before the self rushes in to say, I did that. There's this deeper intelligence running the show that doesn't need an ego.
So, okay, what does this all mean for us? How can we get a handle on this? Well, the source gives us this one final, really powerful analogy that ties it all together. It's the screen and the movie. And it's a whole new way of seeing things.
So let's break it down. You've got the movie, that's yourself, the story you tell about I, all your thoughts, your feelings, basically the entire content of your life. It's always moving, always changing. And then you have the screen. That's the before. It's the ground of awareness itself. It's the context for your life. And here's the key. It's always there, and it never, ever changes.
So here's the big takeaway. The work isn't to try and stop the movie. It's not about getting rid of yourself or transcending your thoughts. That's impossible. The work is just to recognize the screen that the movie has always been playing on, to notice the background awareness that was already here all along.
And what is that screen, that background awareness, actually like? This quote from the source just nails it. The grace was what you were before you became the you that needed grace. It's an awareness that's totally open. It welcomes everything, the good, the bad, the confusing, with zero judgment. It's actually our own fundamental nature.
And that brings us to the final question. One you can ask yourself, right now, in this very moment. What is here before you put a label on it? Before the story and the thoughts rush in to explain everything, what is just simply here,